Okay, so we're going to learn how to throw a bottle today. Take a piece of clay, get it centered. Seal it on at the 4 o'clock position. Lubricate your hands. Coning up. And bring it back down. Open up the interior, stop the wheel, measure the center, and you want to have about a ½ inch thickness right there. If it's thicker than that, continue to open up a little bit more. Now we're going to open up the base of the pot, so we're going to bring our thumbs out towards our hands. I notice that when students make bottles for the first time, that they're really thick right down in this area. So my suggestion is open it up about 1 inch wider than you think you want to open it, and then when you pull back up, this part will be thinner. Compress towards the center 5 times to alleviate any chance of an S-crack. And you can do this with a sponge in your hand, or you can just use your bare fingers to compress. Before we start pulling up the wall of the pot, we want to make sure it's well on center before proceeding. And as I pull up, you'll notice that my hands will come at an angle. I'm putting more pressure on the outside hand because I want the top of this to come inwards. So we're pulling it up, and at the same time, in. Level off the top edge. And pull up again. Add a little water at the top by squeezing your sponge. Pulling up. A little water at the top edge. Make sure you don't have a pool of water in the bottom of your pot. Feel the pot to see where it's thick, where it's thin, and then if you have to pull up again to get certain areas thinner, do so. Right now this pot's a little bit thicker than a ½ inch all the way up to about right here, and then it's about a ¼ inch in this area, which is good because I'm going to compress that part in so it'll get a little bit thicker. Right now I want to undercut the base of the pot. Get rid of that excess clay that's there so that I can get my rib right next to the pot for shaping. Remove the excess clay from the bottom, and if you noticed, I threw a little bit of water between that part I cut off and the pot so that the excess clay would not stick back to the pot as I cut it off. Now we want to do a little bit of shaping. So we're pressing out into the rib as we come upwards. Get a nice curve. And then this next part I want to collar in a bit. So I'm pressing more in from the outside. So we're starting to get our bottle shape. Now we can do some compression, and here we're going to collar in as we raise our hands up. And when you collar, you should do a throw in between, pulling up Otherwise, if you just collar, what will happen is you'll get ripples in the walls of your pot that are really hard to get out. But if you do start to get a little bit of ripples, you can do a down throwing technique to unwind those ripples. I'm going to collar in again. Lift your hands off gently. And I'm going to use a rib to do some compression and to help clean up this curve at the same time. Do a little rounding down here where there's a transition between the two curves. And then you can collar again if you'd like to get a smaller area. Pull it in. And then use the rib again to just clean up the throw marks if you'd like to remove those. So you're pushing out from the inside into the rib as you move the rib along the body of the pot. We'll do a little bit of trimming on this later once it becomes leather hard. So I'm not too worried about this bottom part that's going to be trimmed later. Right down here I'll trim this part later. You want to work on getting the curve nice right now. Because this part where the rib is right now, we won't be trimming that later. Take a chamois and clean off the top rib. Undercut the base. For the Art 709 class, I'm not giving you any size limit on your bottle. The bottle is defined by the fact that it's an S shape. So it goes out, it comes in, it goes out again. So this is a possible shape for you to do for your bottle.